I thought it was just a regular phone, until it started showing me things. Horrible things. Murders. People I knew. And I realized, this phone was made for me. And whatever was behind it wasn't done. The phone was in the glove compartment of my car. I hadn't opened it in ages. I never kept anything important in there. But now that I was finally cleaning out my ride, I found it. It looked exactly like mine. Not just the same model, the screen crack was in the same place as on mine, the case matched perfectly, and even that damn fingerprint sensor was just as unreliable. This phone was identical to mine, except mine was in my pocket. So whose phone was this? I unlocked it. Same passcode as mine. Same apps. Even the social media accounts were logged in, as me. Only one thing was different, a new app on the home screen, labeled For Oliver. That message was clearly meant for me and I don't know why, but it made the whole thing feel even creepier. What was even stranger, when I opened the app, it didn't show anything except a countdown timer. 34 hours, 11 minutes, and 55 seconds. It kept ticking down, but what the hell was it counting toward? I didn't know what to make of it. I just tossed it back into the glove compartment. I didn't have time for this. I had a date tomorrow, finally, after so long. I had to get ready. The date went well. We had dinner at a restaurant, then took a walk. And since I figured it was the polite thing to do, I offered to drive her home. But the moment we got into the car, I heard a strange sound, like someone crying, softly, in the background. The girl looked at me and said she thought it was coming from the glove compartment. I could see on her face that she thought something was off. I opened the glove box quickly. The phone was there, the copy. It was vibrating, and the app labeled For Oliver was lighting up. Its ringtone? A choked, agonizing sound, like a woman sobbing in pain. Before I could say a word, she jumped out of the car and hurried off. Perfect. Now, thanks to this goddamn phone, I probably looked like some lunatic. I figured it was best not to chase after her, first date, after all. Didn't want her calling the cops on me for harassment. Or whatever. The phone wouldn't stop. The crying looped again and again until I finally unlocked it. As soon as I did, the app launched on its own, the one addressed to me, and finally, it went silent. The app looked like a photo gallery. But each album was locked with a timer, every single one counting down, except the first. That one simply said, Unlocked. I stared at the screen, confused. What the hell is this? Then, though I wish I hadn't, I opened the album. At first, there were just images of a building. Then a door. Then an empty room. Then, another door. And finally, the inside of that room too. The last few photos froze me in place. A bound woman lay on the floor. Mutilated. Her head was missing. Various objects were stabbed into her torso. The floor and walls were soaked in blood. Total massacre. Grotesque, surreal, like I'd stumbled into the middle of a horror movie. Without thinking, I jumped out of the car and hurled the phone as far as I could. I never wanted to see it again. I just went home. That was enough for one night. It was Saturday, so I slept in. Finally, some much-needed rest, though those images still haunted me. What kind of sick thing was this, anyway? Groggy and half asleep, I stumbled into the kitchen to make breakfast and coffee. But my heart skipped a beat the moment I saw the table. A phone was lying in the middle of the kitchen table. But it couldn't be mine, mine was still in my hand. It was that copy again. Same appearance, same every little detail, and yes, that cursed app was still on it, full of folders. One album had already been unlocked. The next? Still locked for another 13 hours, 14 minutes, and 48 seconds. I had zero interest in seeing whatever horror it was counting down to. I grabbed the phone, opened the window, and was this close to throwing it out from my 5th-floor apartment. Surely it wouldn't find its way back from there. But then, one thought made me stop. The phone was logged in everywhere, to all my accounts. Even my banking app was open. If someone found it and looked through it, I'd be screwed. I figured the safest move was to wipe everything. So I reset it to factory settings. Finally, everything was gone. Or so I thought. The rest of my day passed quietly. I went grocery shopping, cooked, then played some video games. A typical Saturday routine. I was just putting away the leftovers when my heart nearly gave out. Someone was screaming. Agonized, tortured wailing. I had no idea where the sound was coming from, until I saw it again, that damn phone, lying on the kitchen counter. It was flashing, buzzing, and the app had activated again. This time, it was a man's screams coming through, and it wouldn't stop until I opened the gallery. Once again, it started with a house. An old, crumbling building, but not the same one as before. I didn't care. I wasn't going to look. I wasn't going to let this thing force me to witness another horror. I closed the gallery, set the phone down, and stood up. But it sprang back to life. Beeping, buzzing, shrieking, and the screaming grew even louder this time. Panicking, I snatched it up again. Same app. Was this for real? Did I actually have to look at the images or it wouldn't stop? I gave in. I looked. This time, it was a man. Naked. Gutted. His face had been peeled off, all his fingers were missing. Chills crawled down my spine. Not just from what I was seeing, but from the terrifying thought that someone intended these photos specifically for me. At least the screaming stopped. I simply couldn't fall asleep, those images haunted me. What the hell was this? What kind of sick nightmare was I in? By nightfall I'd had enough. I grabbed the phone, smashed it to pieces with a hammer, and dropped it in a glass of water. It's not gonna screw with me anymore. But when I opened my eyes the next morning, there it was. Lying on my nightstand. Perfectly intact. Right next to my real phone. Same model, same look. Exactly like mine. I didn't have much planned for Sunday. I just wanted to rest. I had just started my daily routine when I heard a voice. A man's voice again. I couldn't understand the words, but the tone was desperate. Pleading. Suffering. Wailing. It was that damn phone again. Sitting on the little table beside my bed, screaming. I tried to turn down the volume, but nothing worked. The only thing I could do was open the app. Another album had unlocked. The new image set started with a building, and I recognized it. That place was near my workplace. A burned-out, abandoned apartment block no one had touched in years. I scrolled further. And there he was. A man tied to a chair. His tongue had been cut out. His eyes gouged. A screwdriver was jammed down his throat. It was a horrific sight. But what really shocked me? That man was my boss. Sunday afternoon, I had to calm down. I was completely panicked. I dropped by Robert's place, he's an old friend. I needed to talk to someone about the phone and the pictures. But when I tried to show him, the app wouldn't open. We tried everything. He looked at it by himself. I unlocked it and handed it to him. We looked together. I even tried showing it to him through a mirror. But the moment Robert could see the screen, the app just didn't work. I didn't dare throw the phone away. It had just come back, or worse, it had opened for someone else, and I'd get blamed for all of it. I even tried calling my boss. He didn't pick up. I don't think I've ever felt this kind of gut-wrenching anxiety in my life. Robert works night shifts as a sysadmin, so he had to leave for work. I drove home alone. Nothing weird happened on the way back. I reached the elevator at the same time as my downstairs neighbor, a kind middle-aged woman and her dog. They were just coming back from an evening walk. We chatted a bit in the elevator. And then, a woman's voice echoed out. Wet, choking, guttural. Like someone trying to scream while drowning. It was loud. The phone in my pocket buzzed and flashed. The woman didn't say anything else, just got off on her floor. I wanted to crawl into a hole and disappear. I was so embarrassed. When I got home, I quickly scrolled through the pictures. Didn't even want to look. Just another victim. A tortured woman. Before going to bed, I scrolled a bit on my real phone. As for the copy, I threw it in the toilet and flushed it. I'd had enough. Lying in bed, I kept reading the news. And that's when I saw the article. A brutal murder. Happened right here in the city. The building looked familiar. It was the first photo from the phone. The first murder scene. The next day was Monday. Work was hell. Bob, my boss, didn't show up. No one knew where he was. And me? I felt like death. Nausea, dizziness, cold sweats, and the crushing feeling that everyone around me somehow knew what I knew. That I'd seen what happened to Bob. I kept thinking about going to the police. Handing in the phone. But what then? They'd blame me for everything. They'd think I was crazy, especially if I couldn't even show them the pictures. That afternoon I went home. Said I was sick. I just couldn't stay at the office. But one thought kept echoing in my head. I'll go to the next location. I'll see what's there. That same afternoon, I bought pepper spray and a stun gun. I had to be ready. I needed to find some kind of clue, figure out who's behind this, or what the hell this phone even is. The app said the next album would unlock later that evening. 6 hours, 42 minutes, and 22 seconds left. I was already on my way. The photos showed a factory building. I didn't recognize it, but Google's reverse image search helped. It was an abandoned industrial site on the edge of town. I was speeding toward it like a man on a mission. I'd made up my mind. I wasn't going to let this destroy me. And I had a plan. When I arrived, I saw it immediately, a light on in one of the upstairs offices of the factory. Someone was in there. That was the sign. I pulled out my phone and called the police. Told them a murder was happening. If anything happened to me, at least they'd know where to look. Getting inside was easy. One of the chain doors had already been busted open. In the courtyard, a gray van was parked. This was it. The killer was here. This could finally be over. My hands were slick with sweat, but I counted on the element of surprise. I couldn't take seeing another corpse on that cursed phone. I stood outside the door. Light leaked from underneath it. Strange sounds drifted out, a mix of gurgling, groaning, and whispering. I readied the stun gun and kicked the door open. The room looked empty. But in the far corner, something was hidden beneath a large tarp. A standing lamp cast harsh light across it. I ran over and yanked the tarp down. The sight paralyzed me. 2 women lay on the floor, tied together. Their bodies were mutilated. Their insides torn out, they'd been gutted like animals. And next to them, a man crouched low, eating the organs straight off the ground. Raw. I couldn't move. My mind went blank. The man looked up slowly. And I saw my own face staring back at me. Bloodied. Twisted. But it was me. I was the one crouching there. I was the one eating them. Me. I couldn't move. He stood up. Kept staring at me. And then, he smiled. A grotesque, smug grin, so proud. So cruel. It'll be a lot easier like this, he said, blood dripping from his mouth. Then he turned and bolted through the back door, fast as a cheetah. Gone. And I just stood there. Frozen in place. My feet glued to the floor. Through the window, the red and blue flash of police lights began to flicker in. They had arrived.
But my double was already gone.